Ito bang 87.9. Okay. Dalo siya maklubo ko yung total mortige rokoy loreng sa Igo Paradise FM 87.9 ng Real Belaw. Tige lo mesirgidra PNCC Digital TV material ko mesirgidra ikrel ma alsel Belaw logi wa PNCC streaming mara YouTube ma Facebook. Ebo ko ay sirgidra si el alsil siyang luy matal ko singil onge walbuy longe delurior. Emela press conference material mo Bangga nga press conference ilang nga at mga kal-president Travelur Belaw, Durang Whip Junior, direct at mga kal-vice president Travelur Belaw, Minister of State Elchay Udo Sangbaw Senior, ang nga minister sa Minister MPII, Charles Obiang, Minister Gayleb Udo Junior, Minister of Finance, direct kalabangga nga nga Attorney General Travelur Belaw, Director Public Safety Ismail Agwon, at Attorney General Ernestine Ringil, Director Public Safety Ismail Agwon, Direktor nga niya Tokubes Silvestre Gidrel Altutaw, ang Angel Waymin Tuwail nga Direktor na Nemo, Angel Tilway Maria Ngamayas, Meteorologist in charge sa National Weather Service, Direktor nga niya Adra Medial nga tiyang malsukan mo introduce tir. Ariya ang lil ang irong Campes Kasoley, Mr. Salvador, alam sa ngartiyang lumtera PWFM, direct nga nga Leila ni Reclay, Bernadette ng artiyang, kikil dil nga sel dir Belaw Loy Sakli, lumtera Japan Embassy, direct Mr. Olgaril ni Rudel Sang, alguk ng artiyang al TMC, sola President ng Malso Kabot, recognize ng Galgakrel adil tong kartel Kulak Poverty, Telanor nila yung asang ka 11th grader pala high school intern remedial of ingela PWFM. Ngayon ba sa Klorprot bodo dolmol. Yakang nga niya maltukubet sil kester gider martel vital bilur ang iwal. May nga di kon ra iwal Evangelical Church sa Mr. Romeo Tiliw. Ihidi mo miskidang lungu RL 2000 makaman sa uli Romeo may mura to al may Mr. Mamra. Blura at tingal. Ako nga, lugi yung loko. Hindi loko raw, makamamiskitang lungu, RL tutaraw, daw mul.
Jadi one. Malungil tutaw presidente, yak mo uwiti al bursa. Al mo kaider gidre el chils, may kalmaral may el chils. Ngara, Kalasyara, chapter 6, verse 9, ikwasay, malaka mo tamasaw, lan marula ungil. Eledi dolmol melmerula ungil ekatamo meritma albal seel dire kal ngara Genesis 28:15 ekmasay lakamo bes yakmo obongem emom sabak larkaw rayge roguy el oborni emo olu terkaw mertial blu dia kabok itaw dia kabok itaw dia el dimrokmokru rayge roguy el black turkaw kadolulu adam el dios agi mel al ding artiang emal dimuir omerengal saul le korkaw Agi di mereng asuleme oldang serkau. Raikal mla mo mereka chil se rubak alka ulbang gamam. Rubak agim lo sois para ase seliol te rubak. Egao e rubak uli itra lom sereng ergau. El mera presidente mabai se marogul kabinete rubak. Ra ablur belau el kirele rubak agil el togoy el mil tamal le rubak agim le temle mur lom sereng ermul. Magimal di mereng asuleme oldang serkau. E mal di malmol melkmasedam malmol meloban tirir tirgel tire rubak. Angar outsider lang erubak al marula gel urior erubak al reinstall rablur belau el mora normal el timer gamam erubak magidi mereng asuleme oldang sergau mal di otter klik al press conference olitok masay bol sabe ire erubak al makatak lagi rogul tokoy erubak el gamam amlar al chain mablur belau bol sabe el makatak le erubak al taswir maran dire erubak edim moreng asaul el malmol merubak rabek al chilsa agi mereng asuleme oldang sergau olingita igang al ngarang klela Yesus osablam amen.
Almasawla di kon teliw COS olgi yung lekorkaw mapum umduigel giram melokor el tutaw elbo president
Mada malungil total morarbek laad malungil larang udul kukul mutol me kasibas rujur tialiolt mau era bodolmol ma edibo kum tergi dek tusus Mga malo susrel al total moray badul maraklay marubukul belaw bilong maebi raklay mar masil belaw. Direk modurok la susurgi del mortigel adadel ngara olbira kalulaw atangak lel president ra senate tamar senator sa roguy direk atangak lel speaker ra house mar delegate sa roguy. Direk mal modorsia susurgid al morar mga taklelay galbek state government direk mal lomsaw lertem lomre gal weekend lo nga sera adray galbek balu. Direk mal lo durok ramal mkaya del susurgi del murar adar belaw roguy ngar al silbelaw marang raikel belaw lo reng sertial press conference elang o mal masulang al adra media tim naka press conference gidra last week melang la telgibel mo beto kagen mo kada kilo arangud ngartel press conference malaway se bay ba ko dira ulko yung lalmura Mr. President malabol duigel kuklam el mergidra el altutaw.
Controlling malungil tutaw mali lutol o mali klasus morar bekla adr bela o tira uk mo sabaril lo bangedra lo yam lidio re al sils kida controlling giredan branga asula la rubaka dios e diagon le blol me agarior ma ayol tandi kadam la mesa talaman la bebi rablu ndi bela o ise sel bakla kada umra lo sa klisi elang lungu akla umra gidam sisi meng sel yorta sel do mesra padrin gora ul dangalengan betul bela emro mra el modibus meng kada mal dimra asula dios ra dimna ga klon ar adal matamal diregal ngel mas nia temela storm modibus dimno sa dem tikani kada mal mana sudah Dios seguir el se kita awase gira sel kotel klod al bangania gira del maral lo mesa sengara el talamal ngara gira del al mrea del matmok gira adra blu magada ngal tangata eli mlagira el longeru lurior mlagira del ngara skogi mom liwekla di triela adra skogi awal da sen dekan lungila ya bakadmol. Oh, I'm sorry, Elim le orulur. Bligel got turur kadang askogin mom lewek lem natibin mo lalak ayol. Magim lor airport gira mamma sa askogi gibungat cancel. Agi ome sangari ataw ma ngaral maral me dekal safe mo. Lo end up mo Wednesday ra tutaw. Sorry, Tuesday ra tutaw ngamal. Tia mal na mo kumangal weekend ma may galsi sa namo da sa galsi sa tangari hindi. Ma elira tutaw emlo sabe del ngarsel skogira FFA se skogira al provider el program ridra tuna ra Pacific el merbela al help ridra tora surveillance emlo giril mraer eli el return al murakwame se mor Australia mura uka service mang no se del tutar eli igadam lam liwak mang dimla kal qora skogin me o mesa ngodel toing mal dimnel mesa o sengrat la mal rablu ngara yel klo tutrel mal di mal murada ngayal dimna kalsikal mugila minister legor eli agam di kadam las kogi mal no la rudel sira the flyover rablu en wal gom lo klaro del mo daga wil communication dimno klaro da sen dimla kal klo la mal o yak de sem naria aral mal murablu mentil mal la dengi naria sesel drogok mil tamal ndi for the most part the compare del mora hayan en mal ngodo al siasing adun mesri gora diriga queen ablu e diriga gora wila do mesri mang kada mlarse sueb gol duel mor ngayawro kada mili wakra abela rogire of course agel blu ngara west coast tamne tribal wal el cloa ayol temesois mun tribal cloa ada major al sel uk ani bebira blan mil tamal ding gada ngal tangal ten dekal klo wa igel yol truk name rigidra ngaramo gida sel dangal tangal tria togar salit lo se orgid maldim le wolele of course government Australia kini la se help rigidra assessment betul top do gimel telal eli ambassador ambrigela ase agi 100,000 sa Red Cross mulon wasor triel uk ngara shelter ma igel families uk statawrol giral diregalulo ay sergida auka ambassador Taiwan lo ase anaria talamal igel tuara wat tourist en siadros pa udodel el dirigel trusel ukora promotion rababol el helper tegel ukristora yem bolsa del narar okya galme mang ngayegi da gora ngesul mlame dirigel gida angal tangata shabala already mlania awal disaster preparedness kittertin already ngarbela waksin ngane container tin ngara PCC mong dirigel ulai sida se mo biskama malistra igen mospe mendimle eli totoba aktalo el siadros pe mong kadamran men asulera tigal partners gidra yan ngesulo meskid gida of course mla close avalment tercera Friday ndi tigal essential tigadra uriora tilobdolo urior and I think sel close to trail dul mesri sel kaltarreng ma blagarreng arbek lad el kadamot mura agrior nding sel bekladat magaluron mat mokrablu mendimna sel tuta gumesera radal el kinarara el aygelulu gol gargara tral clear le to godore adra dengil wase magaral mut muria dengi magaral mut muria aral murior of course PUC ma PNCC man nemrina urerir ndi adra blue adra egal state am dirigel tilo matama klina egal basiolo no se ortire sea khloutu tre dos persel el klein se orgidar adra rogul magal nga waite gider el bul magadamral dimrina sular bek la adan girel sei Nemo ma of course tigal partner idra Red Cross at magal murusel assessment di seguida gira del mururi magadam de seguida maral badul gir close to trela later on uktial discussion ak mumstrate alla a minister vice president trengaya chairman NEC mtumos kita detail del report girela tialiol tama ayel impact sengi ma arogui dirgal sogal announce el sil so seguida amonia atele del submit sel reorganization bill selnia bill del el dulçado mo creators el Ministry of Human Resources basically el sum qadam mesayin ngari sel Ministry of Culture qadi change ranklel el mo Ministry of Human Resource Culture Tourism and Development siya mo besen klel ngari el reshuffling and the siya agora moving forward siya amo besen ministry hopefully other will be regular gim mun mistri ala tomorrow girel al regular session kadiregal man mare asuli girel ay appointment may geluro nam gatmo kon mere lange uk moder sitial al mortir al sel seguid el bila diregal kada umasagil sed el streamline improve service ngima tarabodoruria moldagara sel domodoria usually they refer to them trial ngara border lom border to say CIQ so sel to say CIQ in customs immigration ma quarantine ngadomra la say ya will bal bible da rogo el ngara will imol ministry ma mol tiro ngara border protection el da laurel el de claro the one el team el ngara si se belela garensela belwat among Minister of Finance seluk Bureau of Custom amo expand mo Bureau of Custom and Border Protection el include ay gidel rogul lurior adilungile pa ikmawla sa chairman na NEC vice president among koram skida update regel tial Typhoon surige sula
Malungit to tayo, Mr. President, Minister Obiang, Minister Udoy, Attorney General, Director Vila Abolis, Agwan, Director Nemo, Director Weather Service, Chief of Staff, other media. I see the Special Prosecutor is here too. Lungil Tutao, and ladies and gentlemen, Malungil Tutao, and happy Wednesday. Tirakal malurang asulila Diakon Romeo, sel koramo olak larungo te sel long ang lungo sel iliwil albada sel mong diakbok itaw mang maral dim lakal tamo oy taro bakal Dios sel makareorgid mga ka meron kon mo ay sulwase latest del update del mlara PPUC mlak mardangar along ma angarar da ki rokul hamlet sarang arong mangarar da mla mukmar da hindi de la kasal lovely del tirka power ngi mata di mokut moklay ke kidiel el blay less than 15 homes el angaria tribal to kubet sa damage el moringi mang yakmal orang asula la Mr. President ngi del mlaw ay sulwase mirur sa del assessment tali sa gidi at ngari el all time the mirura initial damage assessment ma Mr. President mlo raskogi ra FFA lo mingila Director of Public Works Mr. Brian Malaydel dirakan member del NEC National Emergency Committee ya ko ka Vice Chair Committee Minister Obiang awul mingila Director ni mol mlorang ayangal mang mo si Elmo reporter Sir Eli mlongo lo titira ra bebira key personnel ra PNCC ma PPUC ma Ministry ra Health ma Direct Red Cross mga dore nga suli ra beklogul adal la nga seortir most especially a state governments lo nga seora taygi diel lo mga omngigi drara la mabelu manglo sabe el lokmar da dengi maral masabe el mloringi tilmutal mo melek lagi diel laldo presidente ng mal global kul daw nga sulir tigal partners sergi waigel mlamdo nga Australia mal memere ada other six sergi diel logi mal tela lenia mo nga sergi den marura assessment global kul al mokatmok la sel initial damage assessment ya after sing mo sel comprehensive damage assessment ang wal two step sergi den mo sa mal identify wa say malwangara sel extent ra damage eloyang dollar figure and more sergi diel el damage el ngaringi el bleda sustain ngir tegi del typhoon mang red seguidor dra Australia dartal tela el from Amrigel el mora a Red Cross may gigi del equipment el bitski da adar shabal uling takoreng edi bol si mention ay gigi del klarbal lo dar sel mergi tul dar sa 10 generators 20 water purifiers ma container el blilaral mal 500 pieces el legal 10 liters el blilaran mal plastic mga sewa nga omrol el may egida mal marungo dra wase mal mol mal selba akla sel kotal lesson learned moving forward sel bolla adengi el misisayol tang magarada sabi el communicate segi dia wayal el qoramil lo diagal el tetere la communication segi de gire del lo mesengil taram le klo el wayal al blol ta itu uterngi segi da bodo mesringi ngatianga director ne ranemo ma meteorologist el Maria Amay sam siren mo kuk update takti so kabolo tingar adrabalo leng makuningit ra krol de al Mr. President le media Minister bi ang akuk mo ay siral bolong dura adrang ayang alareli ding so kalo ay seleng Eschera National Emergency Committee ng so kabol blakatak kalwasing mlaringi announcement al morabalo announcement tawlo mo ra Monday April 12 ra 2021 ra 3 o'clock ra 2000 mlaringi abat bakor dal tenal announcement sel tilo badra au era le may segi diel pa al typhoon ra ututara Friday mlaringi ra Wednesday April 14 2021 ra 1:30 AM mlaringi ra Wednesday April 14 2021 ra 3 PM mlaringi ra Thursday April 15 2021 ra 12 AM mlaringi ra Thursday April 15 2021 ra 6:30 AM mlaringi ra Thursday April 15 2021 ra 10 AM mlaringi ra Thursday April 15 2021 ra 3 PM mlaringi ra Thursday April 15 2021 ra 7 PM Thursday, April 15, 2021 at 10 p.m. Eng mo Friday, April 16, 2021 ra 1 a.m. Segit selmle akmo eng ultuir segit yang miligida ba iniisi. Akmo ay sulo sa ngara alsel segit yung special statement ring. Tapos to kar mga ulwa si ramen tim lakam tur ka mam megim siga pateri egim katmok lo otela megim se egim katmok la iremono lo aral maringi ramen tim lakam lo koy megi brastoang egim nga konsume egim siga ta tri rangal ka mateti kaidel nga langal lentim laka ada tri re tiaka adengi tiagi diamle weather statement el tilo badersel lo Aigel time el tilo badamle progression maklisi el ayol tel manalme. Mangaria tilo dal announcement. Mga ka mlomad atura rubol bela ra eli lo bingkela o kardeo Dr. Patrick Telay le vice chair committee minister be ang amlarang ayangan mlol mo update tertir. Yawan ra ruba kak mono kala si kamamal mlek kaltmok la. Ayim lem dengi magimil ngatmok ra kamam ng mlania announcement. Tirkal mega karel adal mal ngani kay kiti el clock little sabir el low spe ngara man tim la kalo ngay mang paningel wase klo at ko rablo wase tim la ka at to ko el tuwa ban hindi kay kiti ay kel mle weather statement el tilo bada mang adamle madang liya omrol layol sel loko ngit mon trajectory Seigi di alwaya to kora dimla ka expect tangin dimla ka barul kap le ka barul kap e pa imaral batul kit erek mom area ang kay kita le meteorologist Maria Amay sa mga direktora ni mom tal amo ngils mo di akti so kan makataklir wase agi nemo ma weather bureau riru langar alel gilt mo klaso ba mga Aktire ka loreng sulwase tamal criticize ra NEC lelong dia kaigel kaltmok kalwaigel nga rakwa mal domes. Akum daswet adal the more menga sangari adal because ra igigid special weather statement etam le prepare. Igigid el progression ertial liol tamadaw igigid el ulab emlo sibiral adequately prepare. Mang mal so kal dingon mer segi dia mal meron kal mo ongi rangi dilgera midiara after say ema ekwa olagi ngor el ang Mr. President ti lungit kok mara kagi dale Vice Chair NEC Minister Obi ang mabukok polong to gidela assessment ra ay kagi dale ayan
sulang Vice President President Amaral tilob dara with the chlora tutor eli mora arasko gil mom liwek lamagi borang ayang eli amle ko telge loge ringi ase kom tang lage karel sko gil koram nami miliwek retial belu ma dia gim sal medang ali ndi ko maral waseng president tergi dama amaral lo mesra belu rel ara kuk ngaral sila skogi Adi away men mo meski da telgibel diter tial triple nolding ar adrang ayang ar eli mar adra yel different agencies no sabedel ngoy titrir mo adi so dal sharing e wasing seragibong yang kadam dingel wasar at sel kora motmura at sila albule bong en telgibel kora diakdo nge choser til wasing girelger dibl oil kora di Kimno matigaringil wasang malne wila spirit ra adrablu tamnara sita resegi del ragim arrival yang marala clean up rabical silsa spiger ma ar adra olbi la dangal tangat lang tamnar say o sisul time igel gukne observation regi drablu wa igel molkoy it's a different siasing mahayan sira alabong ma kimno sumama maldire kal remolia al selablu o misablay ma talom akmal diregal al share al wasya governor ma tirgel adal ngarablu abay diregal lo kodulu wad gora milang da urtil waseng milo da communication kita sera kapsingera Thursday kimne hopel waseng komne kaltmokla tadira kal maram le seri gidel wasen de mama adim le Tuesday aking ma word mo madenge luwasen ngaring ya ate alal mo ayol talmud mo masesara throughout rawiga man agi milangat mo karamaman sira loral makap singira Tuesday aki lo inform ra adem nor sel Typhoon shelter school material ko kumnorabli la hensel engedira kal mal sisi abli le ungil play matuk no ulderong same kada maral ngal tangat dim nakaadal matamal mal ubeng korang klol ko dior klot albangani guling ite presidente paip sa director toimal sebel share igel detail material different agency gim de lakal molding
Sulang minister vice chair isi manut tutar president ma vice president marulang hatiang wagal ko minister obi ang memo ani at lamal mo ra plurong ayang dila kalmol partner agency samlaring ya PPUC ma PNCC ma hospital ma other Red Cross ngal tote de president tamno sabe do kut maklisil assessment plurong ayang masih ada bong lop titiri other Red Cross mle betanya dai talp mong telal blay amil tamal madim na kasal matamal Michael nge soldula balmong amlo atter regel kategori ra impacted ti mno sa other mo cycle mo adang ayang eli PUC mno sil assess ra extend ra telamal ma telal sil sing to da tra PPUC ilmo omkar da blong ayang selbi sitrigi de eli mno blong ayang nos ela PNCC restore local services sa blong ayan mang agi ngasel nga rasital mga do leadership mar blong ayan di siral restore communication wagi diplom local lang til abs message ma email til mbay no sa ka ma minister ma renters ang ayan mo o may cycle korabasyon blong ayan ing waigal ko minister ang adang tangat ndim lakal salklo talmal alwahayan aikel ko nos edel mesel no talmal da dasta mataloblil adigel ko ra ultob do kung koyang ngalal ngala sa indigel el primary dwelling dim lakam tamal mong kora dimle kegi da ko kora to kora services no spedel restore tal omole del bora blong ayang eli
Takasan mo
Andaldi mintu tawer roguem lamdu kora umrengal saul ma kora welcome ra ada makti multi rakari akti so kalau mutulo ay sura se agi mle kalmok sel time ready gile lawai tegi del le tropical depression mo tropical storm mo typhoon unfortunately mle taligi belge gade ba time leng like we said agi diri route al sel 12 hours or sel time from one to another ang mlo o gimlo kawkotong ada NEC mot magi mo start to ba gale statement magimlo ay gel got kuro babel sa amam ekidam dingen lo siga atiking la rubakal dios di sa edel wadanga information lo ay srabalu and di sel wal trakargi maluben sel lo moronel taliol ta di sa edel predict ringil more a certain extent sa edel mesang lo spe amsil masay del time ram utu taural al golar adra Hawaii ma kwamela say tiam lamo start al move al west northwest agi lo start al mal aswal wasing namo time el gire del move al smisi ide ngartialo maklat ka adra blu kita dim dingel wasing sel time already namo dia kadengi mamato ka adra belam lo dia kalsa ilo reng sa subdel raigal update maktiri kalo maral wasi ulmar adam lo dia kalsal madinge update mal ubeng ngoray gal sub del top drang belaw ngim lem lokata dengi endi okum mlem lokata dengi ako maralo ser adam lew redil gilel tiadim lamdan ra ongeru luroleng start tay gidel statement del top ma update del moral ad maktire galo maralo ser adam le ngariya te elil lorengs emot mo kortil gilel mal sugu mungu kora dimle gida sab egal kmu al sugu ngariya question la leirel gilel mla media mo ra gel got kura babel sab egal el enser omsulang.
Continue na ba germangir the tool updates from Minister of Finance and Minister of Justice may mas kabong Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me just let the public know that last week we submitted our quarterly report to Congress, and it shows that our revenue collections are a little ahead of schedule. We collected about 60% of our local revenues. And because we have been careful with our expenditure, in general, expenditure levels have been about 40% of the budget, compared to expected 50% at half the year at the end of March. This is good news, and I think we need to continue to be careful with our expenditure and not spend frivolously. We have a very conservative budget this year, not anticipating any recovery. So any recovery in the sealed corridor flights or any other business that we can have in the meantime will help boost our revenues. Until then, we still take a cautious approach to the budget. So remember, local revenues are only making up less than 40% of our budget. The rest is borrowed money and money from our reserve. So we still need to be careful and control our expenditures in anticipation of preparation of our budget for next year. So this is just a short overview of the report that we submitted last week. And we have a lot of details here, but generally that's the picture of where we are as of the end of March.
Thank you, Minister. Last time dimna sokal wara di update gira la Minister of Justice. So first ako ulan sa director agwan mo wara di ay sige da gel program ring. Bolong mo.
Mr. President, Madam Vice President, Ministers, and ladies and gentlemen. Dahil bulis real time mamla sort of assess masingalang aringi, ngarang sangset, mga regel role el gire del kutmok. Talaklo ringi ategi del safe streets or safe highways, DUI enforcement. Mamla gimna dedicate ra mutul bebira resources el more segid. Leng somamel mia impaired driver au eral boring accident crash. Nga niya luod el gilela DUI, dili ka nga niya luod el gilela open container. Sabi dem da miraw eral base strike gidel olanga. Dili ka nga niya tiagidel public intoxication, mandili ka nga niya resources el giblam divert el morse. All in the name of trying to prevent claw hindi happen. Mandi ko masigi reactive in nature ending mal claw te elam prevent claw logi ura enforcement gere. So segi the concept. May galbalu especially legal state. Ada di mandi ko masing dia kamal presence sa National Police Legal State. Mga niya real al trial osmili segi del gap. Adalole la Rangers, al-uptirale pan officers, makamam National Police, mansama motmag mangarabalu, maging arabalu, edire ka ngara national level. I hope gigita mo translate mo safer Palau and safer Palauans. Mr. President.
Nam sura director sa program umural wase important kada degal so masimra adra galbus. That's not the point ra enforcement radio ay. Kung klat kra adra blu wase be safe. Find a designated driver. Sige aklo tutelel mral klo albu le malek the orthopedic surgeon rigid mesel por hospital and madirigan man mrigete. Dirigal mleso adal mutial teal dirigal oisra o kumle urior umral asemble NEA ma human trafficking ma SP au urior girel el girel a sele harvest hotel online gaming case. So first of all, namomerek sel case, ngaregel niya wal bler the confiscate. Mang elalsil se Mori agora give it to a handover. Oh, I'm going to ask them to come and explain. Maybe you can come and explain all the items a little bit. SP. Oh no, you need on the radio.
Good morning. We're happy to be here. I wanted to hand over what we have prepared already for use for the Palau. Just to remind you, we had detained earlier in 2020 62 Chinese nationals. We convicted 58. 3 of them had left Palau before we got a chance to file in court, and 4 were dismissed for various reasons. 1 still was dismissed, which we can come back again should that person ever show up in another case. The inventory of what we have to turn over this morning, if you could reach that back, Mr. President. And we're happy to turn this over. We don't want it in our possession anymore. But there are $87,413 received. 1 Chinese or Vietnamese dong, which is only worth 43 cents. But it's here. We couldn't change it. I will say Bank of Hawaii was helpful to us because we ran all the money through their machines to make sure none was counterfeit. 1 showed up counterfeit, a $20 bill, but it could also just be such a dirty bill that it doesn't read. So we will be turning that over to the U.S. Secret Service to have them check it for us. We also are turning over 4 $2 2-day internet cards, 11 unused SIM cards, 74 cleared phones for use. Those phones, the data was downloaded so that we can analyze it. We had assistance from other law enforcement agencies, and now all those phones have been cleared and they're ready to be set up for use, however you decide to distribute those. Right now, 20 of the laptops have been cleared. We took out all of the data that was in there. We had assistance in providing all new updated current software. And with each laptop, there's a backpack, mouse padding, and cords. We still have 44 computer laptops to clear, and we still have 93 cell phones that we need to clear. In addition to that, there's 7 backup batteries, which I think we all need here. There's 7 CCTV cameras, 31 routers, 42 surge protectors, 27 cable extenders. I'd never seen them. It looks like a strange yo-yo. Then there's also some batteries, power banks, and phone adapters. I wanted to say that this wasn't a result of the OSP. The result of this, the success of this case, really happened because of the assistance that all of us did together. Sandra Day O'Connor, U.S. Supreme Court Justice former, says we don't accomplish anything in this world alone, and whatever happens is a result of the whole tapestry of one's life and all the weavings of individual threads from one to another that creates something. And in this case, that's exactly what happened in Palau. We worked with the Foreign Investment Board, with 2 of the investigators, Jolanda Warren and Jade Misse. We worked with the Anti-Human Trafficking Office at the time. That was Director Jennifer Anson and Detective Sergeant Rick Antonio. And with our office, especially with Helinda Oime, who is here, and also Ms. Clarong Rickett. But we also worked with BPS. BPS showed up and assisted us in containing the search warrant because it was a lot larger than we expected it was going to be. But with everybody lending their support together and working together, that's what allowed us to have a successful case. That's what allowed us to go ahead and in a few days' time charge all the individuals, get them to plead, and as a result of their plea, that's where the forfeiture came up. It was part of the plea agreement that everybody agreed to, and they were all represented by an attorney. So their rights were protected, but so were the rights of the Palau. And upholding the law was one of the big things we wanted to show, that we actually could enforce every law that exists here in Palau. And so that included this particular gaming occurrences of online gambling that was happening. The officers who helped us, and I may mess these names up, from BPS were Sergeant Sabino Kyoto Jr., Officer Jerisi Otorong, Officer Vahid, and I'm going to mess this up, Bekatot, is that right? Okay, and Officer Thomas Tale. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that helped us in this, and even Bank of Hawaii helped us, like I said, with the money. Obviously, the court helped us when they came back and found everyone to be guilty as charged. Anti-human trafficking was able to look into one particular case. It was a juvenile. She came here when she was 16. She was 17, and we were fearful that there was trafficking involved. So anti-human trafficking worked with her. And everyone in our case, everyone in our case has returned to the People's Republic of China as a result of the plea agreement, and after having paid their fines. So again, we just want to say thank you. We're looking forward to turning over the rest of the material as soon as we get it cleared and set up again for use. And I'm sure the Attorney General will be able to inform the President as to what you can and can't do with the money and where it goes from here. And thank you for taking this out of our hands. But anyway, I just want to say thank you. We're happy that we were able to do this for Palau, and we look forward to working with all of the agencies again for some of the future cases that we know are coming our way. Thank you.
Thank you. As we know, we don't have any tourists coming in, so Minister of Finance is very happy to receive this money to help. And, you know, I think really what we confiscated should really go back to help law enforcement. And that's something that the OEK can look at. And it's at least helping the AG's office and BPS and everybody that's involved in helping them. But the materials, the plan is to give them to Ministry of Justice and also MOE for if they can use them. But they will go to good use, and we appreciate the teamwork and the efforts that were put into making this case. So thank you. With that, one last thing from Mr.
President Kamsulang maldi ulaklat kalmora blue was egel landslide ra ngaklau sel klo lowro ringire lang tirida adadara lowro ringila maong edera klose dire kalyora kantilayang ating kukmo soro uror endi tamalas merela alsil setut makli yang ari sil ngarbitaringil maldi gegari edire kalbol kot makli egel restaurant landslide the president tra giuklmat hospital amla makatmokla sel krakaraira ngartmau ablada kampak teringi adadara CIP amal mal monitor settlement teringi egadam omdas will get la more permanent luriol mori endi gang apotel ay miara ngatma accessible kadimo kauklat kulwasa dabong kadamo soro ngari adara urore ebol sila na ergidara mo mami ay gamal familiar Salvador ulmay sira weekend president say
dida kalo ay sa sel in the runway
oy
sira gim sebrele gulmasim la collapse sel fence ra in the runway
oy
ngora amran mending ada kali meren sem bukas mo di sa minister
oy dia kam sulang president maram larinya ne collapse sel in the runway ding ilo perimeter fence director akon and din dirga ka agimesal impact ringira runway rigid dirga safe ndi ga girel makatmok klalo mamre time lagi ngom di ringin me bedula runway ma tirgel mo marara kapsenge ang safe runway
report NEC ko. Matakamal misala Mr. Presidente boka wa closer sa report ra NEC. Malgura nga sulia adrabalura karore nga kamiu. Ak madingel wasing sel initial preliminary report Lora Presidente o isolasi melaria o kadel alblay miltamal destroyed mga damadingel wasing nga adal mlom tar sril lang sila baka atwela pliri mlom miltamal pliri madamalolita kalore nga adrablo kaya nga sew moving forward mo help para adrablo bela tirgel miltamal la talang aklir tegi del Typhoon surigay sa ida report ko rin isi nga niya daily press release at 12 drabe kalsils from NEC mang look out for ideal updates. So Mr. President
Maluay siyang asap ito mo ra Germanger mabato mo ra Olgrila ito ra el maliwek lang.
Kambrali Blas. Ngil tutaw President question na nga ka girela tel travel bubble. Understand wasing mle kel after initial flight ng mle 14 trikel mle gel tululya kulle le kilas almo 51 correct me if I'm wrong. And then mlor nga cancellation ra flights mong mlo dia kalme. What's the update last press conference ya chairman of PBM lo mention ay girela pela lo gela Taiwan mok through the TVC mak tio wasang ko nga update tel girelse. Thank you.
So yang malungi lager ngari flight tel mere lang and unfortunately from what we know they are tourist ngari. I think there are several factors. One kadam nem dali sel issue are other Taiwan sel return mle wal ngari quarantine table wal restricted movement so the good news before Typhoon Churige the swell CEC Taiwan was move to say so that's one of the hurdles البلا والو اللي يقرا من داخل سوري البوغل من داخل سوري المونغ 5 days داسي لو so same la move and then so with that مريا Typhoon مرة دريغل مضغط الميل غير Typhoon that was initially what we heard as I said so مريا Typhoon تملي cancel booking certificate which makes sense they go berbela Typhoon you don't know what the situation would be we're hoping and was statra saru del mo and continue our tourist resume المي ونديك سلو كوير تيال فلايت because China Airlines عمل commit regular غاري دوري تو لادل تودر بلا المرغرول او دوري تو امي 21 امرايل so they don't even send mandring the tiadi regular mo instead the rotator are ade continue no ragurul we didn't have to charter the flight say that's when I said say yes there are challenges we have to work with both sides and come up with solutions and help the tourism bubble the important part there's flights they continue and we continue to resolve for example PCR testing that alone is $400 both by doing it both ways close expensive the way to the navigation so I think how do we come up with better ways of solving that problem going forward at least bring down the cost I hope I answer a question yeah sure
Malungil tutaw President Vice Mayor Club regarding the recent storm Typhoon sorry Vice Maloko mentioned wala say lesson learned say the communication need to be strengthened this is not the first time that we've had this kind of storms maral medical change trajectory ringi malungil yung chance aklisi ngaringi segi del I'm sure kom lati ringi more over the years ngaringi ngara ko ra mesangal mo tara we kom sa pamil informer at properly atar nga al abto ko tira na mo ta kalo rasyo leng kal cellphone nga niya rasyo ringi mang sel katomoro murtolo si karasyo kumda sung adir ka na mo ta kalo tara rasyo kal stoang so ngara ko ra mesang alwan rawe mil lot of the information and morabalu raway kay gidel mal ko ra koso ko talal time urgent I guess for both of
Ma'am sulang ra ngilgir tokora emergency management misinira gel mo with and communication ngara internet ngara radio ngara email ngara fax positura gi fladra rokul information channel ra gagi del sobad manganya fax sa state office memorial tour companies but the challenge remains ra angel end user receiver tel message of course we're limited to what is available we're looking into mass texting through PNCC but then there's the idea that not all people are accessible in my cell phone what we're learning now is comment not radios are not very accessible at this time so agil abay mo tribal focus ra social media alor to badra Facebook malumeng igil accessible more other time but procedure also has remained the same that atlet adulto el fax especially agil outlying states at call to make sure putumli receive mang agagi dawagi mo kutmok ilang of course there's always room to improve and make changes according to the circuit demand ilang so as we are getting this assessment al momre kutmok el final report del mora president agida ukmo sabed lo mes agil protocols ma procedures adjust review mo atter a senior gid ko komeseni
Good morning. Initial assessment says that the damages are in millions. So the comprehensive assessment, how much? What are the estimates going around the country? Is that 2 million going to increase the damages, estimates of damages? And the second question is, what kind of help is coming to the people who are impacted by the typhoon?
Thank you for a question, Arkaw. So, sa the initial damage assessment mo completed by this Friday. And issued a preliminary report al Mr. President السيجيد يملا identify 30 homes is ila igid ura dira kalmlara alsil this by the end of this week we'll do initial damage assessments from all state governments coming in, and then next phase would be the comprehensive damage assessment. That's when you actually go into the villages, identify was say ngaral structures amil tamal. I think you actually telal ba sile baka so that based on that comprehensive damage assessment, then we'll be able to actually have a dollar figure on the total damage that was sustained because of this typhoon. I was asked when I so during my, and I've advised Mr. President and Minister Udoy of this, when I met with RUBAC, the Rubukol Bela Council of Chiefs yesterday, and I asked to meet with them just update their theory or I still was riora malara balumiu o I still was mga tertelaw rior tegi the black ko I stringil was Mlaringa preliminary report tamak me provider sa del kapira preliminary report al mula presidenta Kirul Mestri o ay sing momre ka initial by this week ang area comprehensive ay kita mal mom ng lisel total amount ra damage of the sustainary tiro ogi nga kalwasing mga nga daw tra governmental moral adal tira malayamil tamal ara kablirir makmulasing ato ko ramal aburo el ay kitatial malalon ra ADB lorur tra government maldi ako din mga niya ko ra madeda es ludo del sa elon sir adan di tilakmal karyola ra presidente republic ma minister of finance al wasing nga niya ko available sa elon sir so what I can say now when you ask wasing aral help ti sabi ekal wasing ultur tir kay di partner sergi dal tamal masaula sel mlethim ra ala presidente ra si supportial besal government family segi dia reng a lobang at kay del partner sergi matamal nemret lordar sangeswa may kay da report al dol tobada segi del mo comprehensive wabol final al mo osngele ablu wal wasik maltelang sel value malubeng total damage hopefully seguida se edal autoiringi o lingitang seur tira kaygidial el tira family read in the international community so seguida akora kukul o singela NEC akunita president and minister of finance was ira kukul ed honor seguida question wala say help pang ngarigil me.
Just in regards to the initial assessment of 2.1 million, of course, there's still ongoing work and detailed assessment will be coming out. We need to understand that a lot of that money that they're talking about is really for infrastructure. That's where the biggest damages are. The rain caused a lot of damage and it caused a lot of damage to PPUC, PNCC, and of course, our roads and infrastructure. So, of course, we'll be looking for help. The question is, do we have money? Of course, we don't have money. That's a simple answer. We're living off loans because we're still in another crisis, and this is another crisis on top of that. To help the people with their immediate needs, that's why we have Red Cross, and we're thankful for the United States government giving 100,000 to Red Cross to reach out to those individuals that have lost their homes or their shelter, and I think that's the immediate help that's going out to help them. And then we assess and we look at other ways to help them. But that's the current plan, and we'll wait for the final assessment from them. But thank you for the question.
Mr. President, Madam Vice President Maribel Clark. Question nga kay President amora to ra EQPB. Sira leadership meeting en legal maknol to katilo tra speaker Sabino Anastasio. Dire le mention ngira house session sira April 13. Masa tra close albiru kul malubang corruption ng ngara sila EQPB. At tingin la waseng amat ngalia adal ngara sila urior hindi kasual moduliangak hindi ngomes ringil waseng mal kora corruption. Akari ka osisiu time and direct tingin ra staff ra EQPB waseng kora man na molo moral irle yal accusation mo ra EQPB kora direct to the board and management el fight el defend ra Aureo ra EQPB tirkat staff ako ra nakasibil makara. Makari ka 2 parts. Ako tesel top sa information ra speaker el wasay. Mesa nga klol albiru kung magtitel tetel Aureo nga sel office. Sel information ng ito makararang sing lagi la pulis mo investigator ng SP ng AG. Asya kan part ra question awasi. Since ang mal ko ralo moral ra EQPB board and management ra EQPB das when giril metto del mer public explain themselves at their accusation not to them hindi kay dito sula.
Well, there's two things. First of all, I don't know what the speaker is talking about, yo, tingin speaker. The I think appropriate let's say help of course abla police ma SP. Those are two areas that they can go along. Public auditor direct so accusations, and I think that's the appropriate mechanism. Of course, the independent board. So you're right. Ang board of management. Well, if there's an issue at the welcome a public hearing. Let's have them have a public hearing. I'll ask her question or I'll body investigation. So that's of course effort we should always encourage transparency. Due process. I think important sige del deka barrot la IQPB deka ngara lomart. So I'm sure they will come investigation public hearings, and that's what I was trying to remind the other Olbira leadership meeting. No, I say, but you are welcome anytime. The agency, the government, ask up all question. Public hearing, I want to process. We process and by the level, mal of course, and the media is there also. You're welcome to go interview them, but I think we should always encourage. Of course, ang complaints are time. That's normal, and we should be ready to respond. Answer ang itil question sulang. Yeah. Alo moral. Ngayon nga kasi atiwala din nga rapid time. Mangira dal di mo maklormo de bay mal mereng asulil kasi as public servants they come. Kita dimrura urere de los tirak rayel do moral was mal tokoy lakad self concern was yeah I would encourage them was keep doing your job the best way you know how. Yeah, other blue understand. May say sometimes in more questions it's our responsibility to answer them, and then maybe we can do better from those questions. And I think sige da by close to tell mo all my life maybe let's help them understand it's okay to have thick skin, and unfortunately public service is that way. We have to have thick skin and be able just to concentrate on our job. Sometimes saying we get focused on the little things, but let's just do our job, see how we can do it better, provide our service in Morablu, because ultimately that's who we serve, and just do what we have to do. And nobody's perfect. And so we all we make mistakes, but let's understand also, we make mistakes, we learn from them, we move on. And most important is what did we learn from yesterday? How can we improve for tomorrow? And ultimately, the goal should be helping the people. So, surang. I said that's what EQPB is trying to do. So, surang.
Sula Mr. President. Naringi apabil ngela Administrator of Social Security, Morat Chairman of WIOA. Ilolingit teringi mel appeal in Moram Rigel. Bol sabel gongera Social Security melorek regel. Le tax deductibles regel udo da WIOA. Imlangi atiging mel kelo da press conference. Na singire do lotir klial ulabluram Rigel. Imaigal udo da Mr. Other Bela. Ulo Isaac mo reimburse na nga 2 million. Social Security Administrator makawag na ngayon malubeng kuktitir yung lamot magi ori katay lududira.
Okay. Hindi ako malungila question ka Mr. Trump sa sirada nga press conference kada malimil sa other sir nga alala national government. Sell income tax sell bleda collect 1.8 million, almost 2 million siya number dulus peri. Sell uk nga Social Security issue Social Security. Now, argument of course era Social Security was ga benefits wal trialado maara insurance at retirement benefits mase giril discussing ima sel agency ram rigel tilulto da galudo de waseng ngrasen mo final lul de swil girel di gumran wase opposition or national government blak tak lagdam dayon wase ayel tax beda collect girel the return we say AG Minister of Finance, so that's say ngara process and that's the plan, and the amount is almost 2 million, 1.8 something, right? Yeah.
Sula Mr. Presidente, la question amora Attorney General. Gagda espilulu ay sakmut tamlamum sisiya selgeisra internet gaming. Di ako korafalo abel momdret la sekirat tamle turist. Palu bengeral business amle. Accommodator tire tume perform ay gagidal. Illegal activities ablo bela. Palu begerdi mo segide oy. Naria urol mo follow up ay gal. Illegal activities bela.
Ngani Aurel Marale, Mr. Talam, sang diado guktil sa igidil imol guys ra special prosecutor guys gidila online gambling. Direct mal ngani ang obisa Attorney General. Tegid sel giblom kaw monda ringid guys. Luwasen di algidil lo ngaraal. Ending guk mla momre ka guys ringi mangagidal mla otto bata aigel guk tretele laurel. Nga ka feel wasen ulure ringi. Mal sugumen soal follow up people follow up la sitirgal at ngari ya kung da sendiri kul milo ko se monster tiram la to der belaw so sige da ko kenji agit blol ka karo sa lobis
well maybe quradi help I think a question Mr. Talam sa se mang trialat tamlar belal wangara teteli umra lo se all those people that were in Palau were tourists why say a tourist and their visas were extended at Tirakantinun Garbelao. Magumra se one or Doruri Realtame, Asia, Gadatral Chegal Regordra, Immigration and Telmal. Remember a press conference announced was 1,800 Ladan Artel, a local to the immoralist at 600. Telang Dexam isn't Telang, but there's some number. Mang Aurora Giren Marara and they're currently doing it. They'll try to clean up books or immigration and thermal. Let's say Kadib Lakataklo saying that's the issue. The Tirigidil will announce it till Tiramloda Mamma told the Villa Roy. So
just one quick question. Wangara uror tialbe eselbli la kalbusul morangirang sare katakura rirang sira last week luas ngarang atra malgiang al kalbusul ilis tilo badra bli la kalbus. Thank you.
Sulang kotrule maybe a director asel handler sendi kotrule ndi kameda congratulate tiro sen di tilo bad afternoon tungu maldim lemre ndi selbesel bla kalbus adi sodal wase same level to regal grant I mean local funding gadom gadorri the taramle requester gidal mora blura tayo ase for humanitarian purposes and gidam ring gid osiga grant el mura bla kalbus retira se tiago de kalungil tokoy the tamla ko ase for humanitarian purposes at mo help gid el funder sel remaining el lurio mang continue auror we're hoping ase by next year at na momrek we still need another 2.5 million. And also, kung lamang mo sa site, hindi siya kadalala urior. But that's the progress around it. Mang continue construction, and we know we need a new facility. That I think has been in the plan, and we're going to use grant money finishing. We should open the other side. At some time, the other director girela inmate.
Medigo wise masingagi dele inmate Amador Osima ngegi da ilis tiagi del mlaria line abler bulis akmal credit ringik masese ul memred recapturing ringi leng namo tokal bulis namo so amel guk detail rawan team respond agagi del maklo rengaul issues so Maldimlet 20 minutes. Sera route terbebula adwel rangasi. El mor sera lungura butile. Active credit tial el effort al streamline e improve la services el mablur belal. President tamli lain sulang.
My question is to NEC and NEMO and maybe the weather. So this typhoon, and because of climate change, this typhoon has a potential for weather events to intensify. So moving forward, how do Palau or the residents be better prepared to address or respond to the extreme events? And to Mr. President, you have spoken to the international media about threats of China, threats of the COVID-19 pandemic. Do you consider climate change as a biggest threat to the country as well? Because the typhoon exposed how fragile the infrastructure of the country.
Thank you very much for the question. It goes without saying that preparedness remains our best tool against disasters. Every year, September is declared National Preparedness Month. This is not a new issue of preparedness, but I think this brings to the top priority that we need to continue public education, public awareness, outreaches to different parts of the country, all over the country, to ensure that one, we educate them on the tiers of cyclones and what to expect in different tiers. So, but this is not just the responsibility of NEMO and NEC. It's our individual responsibilities to make sure that we get updated and that we get in line with what the rest of the region is doing. I mean, disasters is not something new to the region, but this is just an opportunity for us to request for more funding, to do more public outreaches and public campaigns, and really build a stronger relationship with state governments to ensure a smooth and more fluid communication during peacetime and during emergencies. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may add more sa gital discussion. So, Bernadette, I support what's been stated by NEMO coordinator, and ongoing maybe community preparedness is important. Was that in 2019 that the Center for Women's Empowerment Belao, I'm the president of that nonprofit NGO, got a grant from UN Women, a $300,000 grant, and we were able to go to the states that were affected by Haiyan. And we went into the communities and we talked to them about preparedness. And one of the tools that we gave them was a Tupperware that had, and canned goods, all these items that we need to have for these very type of situation that we encountered with the tropical storm that then became Typhoon Sergei. And it was also education on having at least a set amount of water to be reserved, and food items. So there was a discussion with about 10 states. We went to Cayenne, Peleliu, Angar, and states in Babeldaob that were affected by Haiyan. So maybe that has to be an ongoing work. We got grants to do that, and Mr. Tua has just said that we probably need to look for grants to continue this preparedness for the community. So thank you for that question. I think it really boils down to being prepared as individuals, as families, for these type of storms and disasters. So, Mr. President, question.
So this morning I was on that's kind of the reason why I was late this morning. There was a Micronesian Challenge forum celebrating 16 years. And of course, that's talking about marine protected areas, really sustainable use, and really the importance of conservation, right? Of marine and terrestrial areas. But of course, part of that discussion also gets into climate change, and I think this is just another example of what's happening. We had 2 typhoons back to back, and they were in the month of December, November, right? Now, this one is in April, which is not normal for typhoons. This is not the normal time of the year for typhoons. So, one of the things that I had a chance when I was talking to other leaders about is we live it every day, and we need to take action locally and do our part, right? So I think one of those efforts that was started was, for example, try to reduce our greenhouse emissions through partnerships, solar panels, but doing our part I think is very important. And how do we reduce our carbon footprint? Because we cannot tell other countries, oh, you need to reduce, and we're not doing our part. So we need to lead by example. And Micronesian Challenge is a great example of how that raised awareness and getting people to value marine protected areas. So a lot of other areas have followed the Micronesian Challenge. So we need to be doing the same thing when it comes to climate change. We should be taking a leadership role. And so since I have the opportunity, we can talk about PIF. So in the membership of PIF, we should, as Pacific Islands who are impacted most by climate change, that should be at the forefront of what we should be promoting. And I hope that our friends at PIF continue that line of thinking, because the most impacted and the most vulnerable are really these small islands, which are the Micronesian islands. And that's one of the reasons I think why we should be leading PIF at this time. And so that's why I think the advocate for our Micronesian brother from the Marshall Islands, because if anybody gets impacted the most from climate change, it's those islands. And really, that's a statement that we need to bring to the world. So thank you for the reminder. And I think climate change is here and it's with us, and we have to adapt to it, and we have to take a leadership role in it. And I hope the forum going forward will also take a lead in climate change and not just talk about it. So thank you.
I just want to inform, and I'm happy to say that I work with Palau Red Cross, and through the Green Climate Fund, we were able to acquire 300,000 to continue the project that the Madam Vice President talked about. So we will start pursuing the remaining states in May of this year. So we'll be done maybe early next year. And that's very good for Palau too.
Question na kalamura nemo wede. Akti try mo understand the level of preparedness. Nemo sa amal jakap dire at para wede ang passion. Isera urang sa weather statement. Tino digati tulmas a Vice President. Ara typhoon watch upgrade mora typhoon warning. Urang sir siya udosyo kadir wasi. Adir ang amot to announce siya katong ara condition 3, katong ara condition 2, katong ara condition 1. Yang already in train na siya kasi ara condition 2 karak prepare. Mangir siya gid ko ati tiyak makpasimatat kal apesel tile typhoon watch katong mat typhoon 1. Amem ko experience siya kasi namod ka experience siya gid typhoon. Important.
Malungil kere Mr. Campes. Cell I get typhoon condition cell 4321. Condition 3 tool morawan. Adi mo differences niya hours. 36, 24, mat 12. Aigal na mo miracle typhoon rahayan na mabofa. Amna roy that you will typhoon maral may weather prepare aigal conditions. Tiang amlet tropical storm. Al melmer bebud erwept kul mo typhoon mandibla katte elledon mo aigal conditions. Adi armari kilma condition 2. ويسي يقول أملك لغاقرو سيرفيس بانس ما تتلي لا سوبر ترتياجي دل الغوفتي من الأمريكا اليولت
If I may, sa the Friday, Thursday, Gimolo NEC meeting of Sir President Muns, we were still on a tropical storm watch. Sa the afternoon at 3 p.m., tirab na upgrade rin mo tropical storm warning. Sa the ututar, sa the same mabal ututar 1 a.m. Kadam na typhoon watch. We were working within 12 hours. What okum kadam most condition kadam na condition 1. Unfortunately, hindi kalsab edel di ito di kyuk mula se akadang condition 1 layga nga niya at talang tangil SWC wasit yamanal may mga kadomes rin at adori 6, 24 ma 12 hours. That was the reason why hindi lagi borsel other belaw amadangalil wasi gira dal nga condition. So I gang close to tell, of course I'm happy to say that other bela understand I gan condition. This lalbor segidel because of time and lamo dia kate ledel ay srablu la se kadam lamo mere kal nga condition telang ra amla memol telal hours em lamo girel di wa intention gid ma focus gid di more safety ra adrablu before we say kadang nga condition telang focus gid di lamo girel di ay sula se tiang mga eridel mga klisiel magi-inform ako mina sa lamo girel mga tmokor gid may gigid ako lagi muliak ni although na gigid special weather statement del Morabalu.
Sabi kal ito na kakmal Mr. President. So kal amoy ay gigid weather statement mo support ay kalmam mo. Sera 10 p.m. Thursday, April 15, 2021. Sel le lultabadi ra 10 p.m. ra Thursday evening. Akmul wasya update travel wasya tropical storm Surigay maintain a maximum winds ra 60 miles per hour slowly moving west at speed of 3 miles per hour over the water. Tagida ko ramal so kal emphasize rin. Tropical storm Surigay is expected to intensify and become a typhoon Friday afternoon once it has moved away from Palau. It is currently located about 90 miles northeast of Cayman State and 150 miles northeast of Core State. An Excel update, 1 a.m. Sige din ako tolang nga. And wasi. Updating the public that Tropical Storm Surigay is intensifying with maximum sustained winds of 65 miles per hour and expected to become a typhoon within the next 12 hours. Tiagit selo sa ngay. Nrirep 1 a.m. kita. Arsel 12 hours na mo tiyam a typhoon. 1 a.m. Adam iway wa namusta tam si sayol tang maringirgid olto da ay sen mar adrablu. 4 a.m. nga hit sa gid el typhoon. Sige ay ringa dem lakal merigid ng tisel elte. Sige nga kakanbin ra NEC. Mang akti support tay ga lolkol wasing tiagi del tora kondisyon na ada expecto la setya me pasargid ra Friday afternoon o rin nga kabarul drop me tiagi del trajectory ko amiral merio ma 1 a.m. ang within 12 hours ma condition 1 condition.
Sumusula, Madam Vice President.
Maybe Kwadi, so can help proceed the discussion. Ako maral wase maybe something we can improve on. Ako pinakam na askar NEC wase maybe kawadang ay lessons learned, ra yung ukla the sal later to the trial improve. I think most importantly, there's always a risk wase tiyama typhoon. So we should let our people know wase tiya sa mo typhoon ahead of time, so they're always prepared because there's always that risk and it can change in a matter of malgikadebal time. And I think siya lo hotel lang ak pleasure mo gila ni sila temle they called me sel a director of education amle ko lo ase kada close a school close sel afternoon or Thursday makasing ara procedure gid kada close a school gida na typhoon. Well, the typhoon makasing di kasi the close a school. We need advice was kada more say, but I think we should always be prepared for the worst case. And I think maybe something that we've learned, and hopefully you know, the day before, kasi alitas yan mo typhoon, just be prepared. It's better to be safe than sorry. Maral dekat sodra omme serada el didur traral el mugla garragar el hotel abas manangas ko I gida we have to be prepared for so long again, and I think I'm sure NEC adigal lo message lo say how do we improve or say gide for the next storm. Sula
Mr. Presidente tilal ngera Dura ini isimel beradias mel sodo tridadias.
Dak mal giran malungil
Mr. Presidente, ngani atul industri belal ko asurira adalol giser el altaim. Imakata taluriore dal begis. Auriora agriculture, auriora fishing. Betogol agom dasu kumal maklau tutrera altaim el adal belau. Dia ngani pandemik dia kau do del belau. Pertama kerang sutira adal belau masibil diti. Ekora dia ka minister blam appointed in mortial ministry. Ngari ako raw the swim girel appointment ra the mortial rual.
Malungil ger mal de litra kaloren ra drablu kadangara reorganization yes selmo besen clara ministry mo agriculture fisheries and environment le kadamral wase kadama blad obes wase ya se aurere sel ministry close to tell really the increase of production or apple what ay gira gora ay sara uk maral may but ngari aurora la lo mangela blue rashabal and they will help pergidel not only are they helping us at aquaculture but now they're planning to help us at agriculture. So next month they mo sana MOU lo bantarir kasi uk ministry ra agriculture ma forestry ra shabal mo help pergid el supplement ay current program rigid dirigal gale directora agriculture ul mugamara tutanga meeting e ulai se uk program ra 50 householder bela mo satar mo ramal el dirigal help ra agal dirigal help ra tora ser se legal dila mal ga ul dolab al mangoyas. That's a program that's already ongoing and so it's increasing as el production as a cloud to tell kada dirigal lombra lo ase sel dongura omnged gida at the end of the day giran ngari buyers giran sustainable legal the ngara el malay mang akpaya ser fisherman ngara hindi mal mo so sel mal mo klo ice pack se mal klo ora langi gel ma before kada sendam outside dira kam stop export mandi belaw mga tribal help rigidel generate a fish tax gidel mutrom grol but ngira del manglor sel tora aquaculture and I think most importantly aquaculture that provides high value and income al morara ngira del mal mo ngilom betel rabbit fish ma aul from what I know tora aul angel most profitable part ra aul angel sel fingerling adol targin waul sel mogorun mo tun de kada sol mangari mal you know akal sibula mal mililiute low value. So we need to come up with production that actually is sustainable and really makes money so people can earn a decent income. And that's why I shared this last press conference about Taiwan. Itiga ba yung mgrol Arab pro ma ngel bring aral ngigel 100 tala imo. I mean that's what we should be thinking about. Ngaram de kadong mgrol ama mal makamaduk lega valuable ngigel. Ngaram kadong ara rabbit fish. You know, we need to change our thinking and look at better ways. So there's improvement needed. Sulang ra will get and we need to work with them and help us there mo. Deklara minister, president ta current minister. Sulang.
Landing ko ra di kaya ta mesin sakot tel gadaril nga pala media council yak musil ko lastel. Okay. Algok algok follow up para selgera o album mudolong ang kamera o sisulan but since yung long we go back morsel dilia vice president was ngaring 50,000 and nga suma 100,000 I understand da eli ma ay dali sa bayak nyo law lang alega Vice President lo nga sir ada ko state ng maralo obli marusel IVA makada rirang sa kurabat to kurabal gire la preparedness so we'll let the public be the judge of that. The question na nga kasi lang nga rin at tirigel adal I know adal lang akleda ko tigi dalo nga al mal matamalin tigi di nga rin tirigel adal toralimle destroy the ability completely blodia mang ilalsil sang takuraw tabra ngaringar la mulak pakpilay kalbil o sur kiring ilal time ma question nga kasi ilal lakaw daw de kami mo sa grant sang ngara plan ra government especially trigi del adal milt na malabliri kadan mugtun mo malang daw don mo lang sir tiral ubeng kadimilay kay gidal ngesu msula
Kamal masara ngil kere ol kagil kotal ke karir member apala media console ngat ay koram let touch upon it nga ma present earlier koram lat ko was tirigi dekmal nga sol tir lagi dia lang ngani nga evacuation centers lang dia ka lang clear matamalmol nga evacuation centers dia ludo dal tartal tela ako marang alwaseng mo maklise triel support ra evacuate triel nga evacuation centers maldo do ase babo da check ra Red Cross or basing si el kurang ari yang eso el top der seguir ludo dara a Red Cross el kura sa akartire gid to ngir sel mal kura mo final report seguir del comprehensive damage assessment di kamal masaw seguir del urere di tal koro state lul nga sew el maral el interview ra household ale di tal koro state el angabi ko sa takmal batokol avel al sel orior dirga kabol marek seguir el wa reporter tir let dirga maral el survey ay gel dolong okle makmalogi utia orang asulir rogoy el state employees el mar volunteers el nga sew tegi del assessment leng mlaringar mlera sirey belogel mo komtelal adal kerse yang ara amit mal rabla mangmbral wal kora mal komakay ay gel question sertir mang mal mo subi irelo otia maral picture sel talmalel te gidel Typhoon surigay
sura olgoreleng wilang kita wilang press conference kita di blol over 1 hour so almost 2 hours دي important تقريبا كده جيرة المال مصوبة كتير ترجع القطة متعرف السرير and I think our first line of defense of course in Red Cross and so hopefully تمسك 100,000 ترى لو تو ترجع كده المال لو سبع عنيسو كده مدينة لو أساسل بس بقى بلعب first step Red Cross then I get Orang mari el program langari asing ay se program pala housing el ukel pertege de wait tege de lat but se degal stop realmente lo siga upe birate al el dirgal helpa el family mi se da uror sulang ramalung il garim sum la modiage boranex Bernadette again okay
Making up for last week.
Yeah. Mr. President, you said that the devastation might not be as big as Haiyan, if I understand you right.
Correct.
But this event still takes a toll on people. So I was wondering, because the general sentiment is almost everyone was caught off guard by the path of the Typhoon Surigay. So were you prepared yourself? Were you caught off guard? And also to the Vice President and Nemo, I think the kind of communication people wanted was to tell them, get off the road, close the school, store water, don't drive. I think that is the kind of communication that they wanted to hear. So is there a protocol that triggers that kind of communication? Because sometimes in the media, sometimes when you write a story, you have to know your audience. So how do you communicate to an audience that doesn't understand trade winds, doesn't understand the storm jargon? So how do you trigger that protocol?
No, that's a very good question, Bernadette, and I think I answered it in Palawan. But most importantly, personally, yes, I was maybe not as prepared. If you go to my house, my chairs were scattered all over the yard, and things broke. But I was reading the reports, and the report said 39 miles an hour. That's the Palawan. Yeah. So we I think read the reports. That's what we expect. But it escalated, and I think what we've learned is that we should always remind people that these storms can turn into typhoons. So it's better to be safe than sorry. I'll just give you an example. I used to live in Malacal, so Friday morning I happened to drive over there, and I went to where my brother Eric lives now, and the whole dock was removed, and they actually put it between the rock islands. And I give credit to Seaboy for being prepared, because when I go, the dock would have been totally destroyed. So that's the kind of, and Wednesday he already removed it and put it away. So I mean, because it could always turn into a typhoon. I asked him why. He said, because you don't know. So we have to be prepared. And I think that's just the message that we shouldn't have to wait for weather to tell us. We should see that it's windy and stormy. We should be safe and start acting accordingly. I mean, there's only so much media, so much radio, so much everything that can out there. So sometimes we also have to take responsibility. So I'm not blaming Nemo for my chairs all over the yard and broken tables and whatever. I should have saw it's windy, and I probably should have taken more care. And my wife always reminds me, I told you, but and that's we have to I think see the science and act accordingly. And sometimes we take things for granted, and we all have to work together. It's everybody's responsibility, and really the working with the state governments, getting the word out there, and just reminding people. And thank you.
So thank you, Bernadette, for your question. I think other thing, Chief of Staff, the special weather statement, and with what the President has said, we probably need to add another line to say and always be prepared. But the public was reminded to secure any loose items around the residences and to take precautions when driving for possible flooding, landslide, mudslides, and debris. So that was in the updates, weather updates. But I think what the President has said is very true, and we should have added and always be prepared, because this could turn into a typhoon.
And what time was that update?
This was at 3 o'clock, 10 p.m., even before then. So it was always kind of there, but thank you. So another lesson learned. So we're moving forward, and EC will be adding observations and experiences encountered during this storm. So lang.
Bernadette, I chuckled a little bit when you asked if the President was prepared. Early Friday morning, as soon as the sun rose and there was a little daylight, all communication was down. And I was freaking out that we had no communication. And so I had to make a gamble whether to drive while there were trees falling to the President's house to get him in contact with NEC. So I think none of us saw this, but we all tried our best with what we had.
And I know that people are really suffering, especially there was no power, no communication. So it's true. I drove to NEC in the morning because that's the only way I could communicate. There was no way to communicate, and we still don't have proper cell service. It's kind of working on and off. Ingat pang. That's seguro honto mong tingiban mo da. Madengi mong malemeo del May, but it's okay. We understand because most importantly, I know people were really upset that why is PUC skipped our house and they went all the way to Maralong, but what PUC wanted to make sure is most importantly is get water to everybody. and that's why they concentrated on the main lines. And some of us that were not on the main lines came later, and we understand that. And I think we need to really thank them for their trying to prioritize and get everything done. And I know there's probably still today there's people still without power, but they're working hard to try to get it fixed. So let's just remember them and not give them too much of a hard time. Lastly, okay, one more question. Everybody had the last question, so you can have another last question.
I might as well. Leilani Raklay. I don't mind being a senior. The really way off. To a question we get tell storm. The last question, President. Kumkuram la Mr. Sella algira la export la marine resource. Lo senganya will affect it tel. Lotro la sa moment ko anticipate ringi July. June or July.
Yeah, so long on a question, and legal counsel is reviewing it at the moment. So if an amendment is required, we have to do it. Sula. Namudia question. Okay, me de un teal maring tugo betel sils. Arba baby ramal batatalora government el no se orgid. So I think it's important that we recognize it here. Gather mrenga sula Dios another year of life. Yeah, that's always we should be thankful for that. Mangara MOE ngaray trir okotol. Dire ngara MOE John Seat Kell. Ngara MOH Helen George. Dire ngara MCCA Pebolinda Florencio. Ngara MOJ Ditz Ringel. Dire ngara MOJ Sanya Olgrin. MOE again Earl Britannico. Michael Motugra MCCA. Dire uka Tugubetsel Silser Tirelam. Let's wish them all a happy birthday. A happy Earth Day. We have to be thankful, Rabbalwad, and as good stewards, we should always try to protect it, preserve it, and for our generations to come, and do our part to combat climate change. So, retirement. No. Okay. Lastly, this one what tell Mrenga Sulara Olvira Goloa Senate. I'm like confirm Mr. Santi Sanuma. Alingia Mobes el Postmaster General. Amam Suga. I'm like 11 o'clock at the end of the press conference, and I'm not 12 o'clock. I'm not Sulang. Sulang. Like the Maldi Mong, I'm not Temela lunch. I'm Sulang. Minister, please I'm out of.
Oy, alam ng artista missile transfer.
So may nga siya sing? Sorry, there. Oh.
Turn around the Minister of Finance.
Mo, pagkano kong i-real ko.
And also.
Yeah. Make sure nga security na magyaman marayan. Sula. Yeah. Do askara blas malong simre.
Okay, atalo Isaac malmeng asuliar okulat malmeng asuliar at media mal tokubet sen morang kagidel buig delanor ngira ingas el 11th grade ra PHS yang artial intern lobengela PWFM dire kalbo kum atra media ko ay sula si Ice ma Vice President ma President ma adang atero koy dado besra house parira kambesra Friday Moringira
Tokora media
moringira Riptide. Mingilay gigit from all of us here malungil sis le gorao loreng sermamra PFM 87.9 ng Real Belao direct lo mes sermamra TV rao PNCC Michael streaming el Michael Belao malsel Belao mal masaw le gormiu akimi invite ramiu next Wednesday kung may bengedel next press conference ko mal misulang and have a good day.